There are two people who walk through the same yard every morning. Same feeder, same birds, same neighborhood. One of them steps outside and the yard goes quiet. Birds pull back, the feeder empties. The branches that were full of movement 30 seconds ago go completely still. She stands there for a minute, sees nothing, goes back inside. The other one steps outside and nothing changes. The chickadee on the maple keeps eating. The cardinal near the fence keeps singing. A nuthatch works the oak bark 6 feet away without even glancing up. He stands in the middle of it all and the yard simply continues around him, alive, unhurried, completely unbothered. Same yard, same morning, completely different experience. And the difference has nothing to do with luck, nothing to do with some innate gift for connecting with wildlife, nothing to do with how much either of them loves birds. It has to do with a process that started the first morning each of them ever walked outside. A process of evaluation, classification, and communication that the birds completed a long time ago, before either person had any idea it was happening. Welcome to Bird Minds. Today we are going into exactly why birds choose one person over everyone else. Not the poetic version of that answer, the actual biological, behavioral, research-backed version. Because once you understand the mechanism, you will know precisely what the birds in your yard have been measuring and exactly what it would take to shift where you stand in their assessment. Stay until the end, because the final section is about the moment you will recognize when it happens. And once you know what it looks like, you will never mistake it for anything else. Every bird in your yard is running an evaluation continuously from the moment it arrives until the moment it leaves. Not an evaluation of the yard, an evaluation of you. Researchers studying bird behavior in residential gardens found something that reframed how ornithologists understood human-bird relationships entirely. Birds in yards with regular human visitors did not habituate to humans as a category. They developed specific individual responses to specific people. The same yard could produce completely different bird behavior depending on which person walked into it, not because the yard changed, but because the birds had built separate profiles for separate individuals and were responding to those profiles in real time. The evaluation runs on 4 variables: movement pattern, arrival consistency, proximity behavior, and acoustic signature, which includes not just whether you make sounds, but what kind, at what volume, with what predictability. Every time you enter your yard, those 4 variables are read, compared against the existing profile the birds have built for you and used to generate a real-time threat assessment. That assessment determines how close the birds stay, whether the alarm calls spike or stay quiet, whether the feeder empties or continues to be used while you are present. You are not a background feature of the yard to the birds in it. You are one of the most dynamic and consequential variables in their entire environment, and they are paying more attention to you than you have ever paid to them. The first thing birds measure is predictability, and most people fail this assessment without knowing it is happening. A predictable presence is not a quiet presence. It is not a slow presence. It is a consistent presence, one whose behavior follows patterns regular enough that a bird can build an accurate model of what that person is going to do next. A dangerous animal that behaves predictably is manageable. A bird can track it, anticipate it, stay at a calibrated safe distance, and still go about its life. But an unpredictable animal, one that sometimes moves slowly and sometimes lunges forward, that sometimes appears at 7 and sometimes at noon, that sometimes reaches toward the feeder and sometimes walks past it, is something a bird cannot model. And something a bird cannot model is something it cannot be around safely. Researchers call the distance at which a bird decides to flee the flight initiation distance, and that distance is not fixed. It shrinks with repeated exposure to a specific individual whose behavior consistently fails to produce a threat outcome. The bird that flushes when you come within 30 feet today will, given enough consistent non-threatening exposure, eventually stay put when you come within 6. Not because it stopped being cautious, because its caution produced enough confirming observations that it updated the model. You became, in the most literal sense, a solved equation, a known quantity, something that can be accounted for and then ignored in favor of more important things, like eating. The person in the yard that birds treat as furniture is not someone who became invisible. They became predictable, consistent enough over enough mornings that the evaluation the birds ran on them stopped producing new information and started producing the same answer every time. Safe, known, not requiring a response. The second thing birds measure is your threat announcement, and this one operates completely without your knowledge. Every time you step outside, a chickadee broadcasts an assessment of you to every bird within 100 feet. The number of D notes at the end of its alarm call encodes the threat level of whatever it is reporting. A small, fast predator gets a long, rapid cascade of notes. A large, slow, non-threatening presence gets almost none. When you walk into your yard, you get a number. That number goes out to every species in earshot simultaneously. Nuthatches hear it, titmice hear it, juncos, wrens, finches, they all respond to the specific assessment the chickadee just broadcast about you. If your number is low, if the chickadee has assessed you as a known low-threat presence, every bird in the yard receives that information and relaxes accordingly. The contact calls continue. The feeder stays busy. The yard carries on as if you simply are not a threat variable worth responding to. If your number is high, if you moved suddenly near the feeder last week, if you brought something unfamiliar into the yard, if your behavior last Tuesday was inconsistent with the profile the birds had built, every bird in the yard responds to that elevated assessment before any of them have even looked directly at you. Your reputation in your yard is not held privately by one bird. It is broadcast every single morning to the entire community. The chickadee is not making a personal judgment. It is running the alarm system, and you are in range of it every time you step outside. The question is only what the system currently outputs when it reads you. The third thing birds measure is your face, and this is the part most people find genuinely difficult to believe. A landmark study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences tested whether American crows could identify specific human faces. Researchers wore masks during interactions that were either threatening or neutral. Crows who experienced the threatening interaction remembered that face for years, responding with alarm and mobbing behavior long after the original encounter, even when the person wearing the mask changed their clothing, their body language, everything except the face itself. More significantly, juvenile crows who had never personally encountered the threatening researcher began avoiding that face after observing the reactions of adult crows who had. The behavioral information about a specific human face transferred across individuals through observation alone. For your yard, this means every bird that has seen your face has filed it. The category it is filed under depends entirely on what happened the last time that face appeared, and the birds that have never personally interacted with you are already receiving second-hand information from the ones that have, reading their behavior when you appear and calibrating their own response accordingly. You are a face in a database that every bird in your yard is contributing to and drawing from simultaneously. The question is not whether they know your face. They do. The question is what is attached to it. The fourth thing birds measure is your voice, and most people in their yards are completely silent, which turns out to be a missed opportunity. Birds are not afraid of sound. They live in a world constructed entirely of sound. What they are afraid of is unexpected sound, sudden, sharp, unpredictable noise that arrives without warning and cannot be anticipated. A calm voice, low and consistent, appearing at the same time every morning as part of the same routine is not a threat to birds. It is a data point, another piece of information they can add to the model of who you are. Researchers found that birds in yards with consistent human presence, including calm, regular human voices, incorporated those acoustic signatures into their environmental map. The human voice became a known feature of the landscape, something to be noted, accounted for, and then filed under familiar rather than alarming. This means talking quietly when you go outside is not eccentric. It is functional, not because the birds understand your words, because your voice, heard regularly in the same gentle tone at the same time every morning, becomes a signal. The known human is here, the predictable one, the safe one. Everything is normal. The person that birds choose over everyone else is almost always the one who talks to them, not loudly, not with any expectation expectation of response, just quietly, consistently, as part of the routine that the birds have been learning since the first morning they ever heard it. Now, here is the moment, the one that all of this builds toward. You are standing in your yard. Same time as always, same path to the feeder, same quiet movements, nothing different on your end, and a bird lands on something very close to you. Not the feeder across the yard, not the bath near the fence, something close, within arm's reach, sometimes closer. It looks at you directly, with the specific deliberate attention birds give to things that actually matter to them, and it stays. Not for a fraction of a second, not the quick glance of a bird about to flush, it actually stays. And in that moment, it is not doing something spontaneous or random. It is confirming a conclusion that has been building for weeks or months through every morning you showed up, every quiet movement you made near the feeder, every low word you said to no one in particular while you filled the water and checked the seed. Researchers studying human-bird relationships in residential settings found that birds who developed close tolerance for a specific human did so only after extended periods of consistent, non-threatening experience. There was no shortcut, no technique that compressed the timeline, only time, consistency, and the willingness to show up without any expectation of reward until the bird arrived at its own conclusion. The person birds choose over everyone else is not the most knowledgeable birder in the neighborhood, not the one with the most expensive feeder or the most carefully curated yard. It is the one who showed up the same way every morning, long enough for the evaluation to complete. That person does not have to be someone else. But here is what most people never realize. The evaluation is already running. It started the first morning you ever walked outside. Every visit since then has been adding to a profile the birds in your yard have been building about you, whether you knew about it or not. The question is not whether the birds are assessing you. The question is what they have concluded. And there is only one way to find out. Go outside tomorrow morning. Same time, move the same way, fill the feeder, check the water, speak quietly if you want to, and then stand still for a moment and pay attention to what the yard does when you appear. Whether the alarm calls spike or stay quiet, whether the contact calls continue or stop, whether the chickadee on the nearest branch moves one branch further away or stays exactly where it is. The birds already know the answer. Tomorrow morning, for the first time, so will you. Tell me in the comments, is there one bird in your yard that seems completely unbothered by you, no matter what you do? What species is it, and how long did it take to get there? I want to hear the specific moment you first noticed. I read every single one. I will see you in the next one.